Hello, it's Zoe, and welcome back to the Mischief Movement podcast, your weekly inspo for people looking for more hell yeah in their life. Consider this your one-way ticket out of midlife mediocrity towards fun and positive impact via playful disruption. Wouldn't you love to wake up and feel like a total badass? How about breaking some rules, throwing two fingers up to society and doing more of the things you love? I'm talking full-on freedom, adventure, and those meaningful connections I know you've been craving. Stop waiting for your amazing life to happen and go get it. I'll be picking the brains of some true game changers and mischief makers so I can share what I find and hopefully inspire you to shake things up, do more of what makes you feel alive, and boldly rebel against the ordinary. I've no idea what I'm doing, to be honest, but I've got a mission and I'm here to start a movement. It's going to be quite the adventure. Care to join me? Okay, here goes.
This week's guest is a rebel of the fashion industry, having launched a brand that reimagines kids' clothing. With a name like Vandal or Vandal in English, Kat was always destined for mischief, but she never expected to end up starting her own brand. After being made redundant from the beauty industry during the pandemic of 2020, she decided the time was right to pursue an idea, a gap in the market for comfortable, stylish, practical clothing that would create the perfect outfit for kids to get messy in and help parents with effortless, long-lasting, affordable pieces. This episode is so much more than a brand bio, however, as we discuss the harsh realities that working mums face trying to hold down a career and be a present parent, the struggles of starting a business in an industry you have no experience in, and how making time for creativity, play, laughter and silliness is fundamental to a happy life. We also talk about her love for creating whole retail experiences through her imaginative pop-ups, which often involve drinks for the adults and creative workshops for the kids. So if you like the sound of a Vandal Kids event, the next one is being held on 23rd of April in a children's hair salon with a full editorial photo shoot experience, no less. Anyway, without further ado, here's Kat. So today I am joined by Kat. Do you prefer to be called Kat or Kathleen?
Honestly, I don't mind. But I've always been called Kathleen or Katu by my friend. And then more recently, I've kind of used Kat because I felt like it was a bit shorter for my brand name, like my branding name. So Kat Vandal, really easier for everyone to understand.
I'm really excited to have you on because I've actually been following your brand journey for quite some time. And I know that we've connected through my leather goods and what I've been doing. So I'm really happy to actually be able to have a proper conversation with you and get to know you better and what you've been up to. So
it's nice to do this because how long has it been? It's been a year since we've kind of met, and I put some quote there because obviously we never met, but since I discovered you on Instagram, I don't even know how it happened and how I found your brand.
I think it might have been through Claire Alexander. She definitely mentioned you to me, and she said Kat's creating this amazing brand and I think you'd really have a lot of things in common. And
that rings a bell now. So via this, and then I saw what you were doing, and I was like, this is just right up my street in terms of style and like edgy. I'm an earring addict, and yes, we've been in contact quite a lot via Instagram again, like just messaging or via post or stories, and it's quite nice to finally have a proper chat.
Agreed. So I'm so keen for everybody to get to know you a bit better. Would you like to introduce yourself and let us know, how do you make mischief?
Yeah, so I mean, my name is Kat Vandal. So my last name already was kind of predestined to be a bit of a mischief. I've always known that I should do something with that last name, Vandal. But yeah, I think mischief, I'm not necessarily like a rebel as some other people would consider it, but I would say that I do a lot of mischief through art and humor. For me, they are the two main things in life that can really, I think, that can really help with, your happiness, and that's something I want to transmit to my son as well. For me, if he's got creativity and humor, I feel like he can do anything. So we do together a lot of mischief. I think maybe over the years I became a little bit more wise and a bit more, not boring, but just a bit more following the rule. And then since he's old enough to kind of interact with me, I just enjoy so much creating mischief with him and just forgetting I'm an adult sometimes, and just, whether it's through, art and craft and being a bit messy, or just being so silly. Like if there was a hidden camera at home, I think people would just be like, what? Because the way I am with him, or with my partner as well, the three of us, we're completely like, we're a bit mental, and we just do crazy things. So that's the kind of mischief that I do on a daily basis, just being silly. And
I love that. I look at what you create, and I always end up thinking, God, I need to be more cat. I really want to get to that stage with my son as well. My son's nearly 6, where I can just be really silly. And I think over the years, since having children, it's made me a lot more serious.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to that sort of playful, like you say, like getting messy and being creative. I feel like it's in me still. I just kind of need to bring it out. And perhaps through your brand, that's kind of how you end up bringing out some of that, that creativeness and that silliness with your son.
Yeah, I mean, doing those videos, we wouldn't necessarily think of doing silly videos if it wasn't for Vandal Kids or Instagram. We wouldn't have the thought of, oh, what if we did this, and you pretend you do this, and I pretend I do this, and he loves this because it's like, and he has so many ideas on, oh, I've got an idea, let's do this video where I do this and you do that. So that gives a little bit of context, but also it hasn't been that long. I mean, I think when I had my son, I actually don't think, when he was 2, 3, 4, 5, I think I was still quite serious, because it was more about making sure, like just looking after him. Whereas the last year or two, something shifted. And because he's more independent, he's got his own humor, he understands sarcasm, and he makes sarcasm now, because I'm a very sarcastic person, and my partner as well. So I think he gets it. And, we could tell him things that, I don't know, if he puts a lot of Nutella on his bread, we're like, do you want some bread with your Nutella?
Yeah.
And he gets it. So we're constantly, playing with this, but he wouldn't, before like 5, up until 5. So it's quite recent. And I think it comes with the fact that he's growing up. Mm-hmm. And he's a bit more receptive, or he's got a bit more humor that he makes me laugh so much. It's not like baby humor where I'm laughing, but because it's cute, like I'm laughing with him. So, it might cut, like, if your son is 6, it's still like maybe yet to come on the just relaxing and just.
I hope so. I mean, I hope that in bringing this message of mischief out, he's going to start seeing little snippets of it anyway, and he's going to want to get involved, because, I mean, I think it's awesome how your son does seem so involved. He does seem like a key part of what you're creating, because actually we haven't talked about what your products are. Do you want to introduce your actual brand and tell everybody?
Yeah. So my brand is called Vandal Kids. So I use my last name because it just fits perfectly the brand kind of identity. So Vandal Kids is a brand of kids clothing, and I do also some more grown-up, so teenagers that actually fit adults. So I wear them because I go till extra large, but it's kind of mainly focused on kids. And it's for mischief. It's basically clothes that can withstand mischief. Kind of consider kids being, little vandals, with their clothes. They don't really look after them. They're so curious, and, they love to explore. They love to be messy. And I really just don't want clothes to be a constraint or something that would hold them back in being creative.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to create clothes that would suit their lifestyle, actually, because I found that there was a bit of a gap in the market where clothes were either categorized as very outdoorsy and you would wear them just only if, it's pouring and you're going to be, walking in puddles. But then obviously you kind of take them off when you come back inside, and they're very sturdy, very waterproof, which is initially what I was thinking of doing. I thought, okay, I want to do clothes that are really just completely kids proof. But then I realized that then you had to compromise on comfort, because those clothes that are super waterproof and, they resist, falling or whatever, they are not stretchy, they're not breathable. So the kids sweat, they can't really move freely. And then you have to get changed anyway when you come inside, because they never keep those clothes inside. So that means they're very occasional. So I thought, no, I'm not going to go that route. And then I realized the number one priority for parents, because I've done a research, like a survey, and also the number one priority for my son is comfort. Like at some point, he didn't really care what he was wearing. Now he cares a bit more, but as long as it was comfortable. So I just didn't want to be to the detriment of the other. And then when I looked at all the brands that do like very, very, loungewear, comfortable clothes, then those ones don't really last. They're like this great, they're made from cotton, they're soft, but you get a hole, they get wet, they get dirty, the stain. So this other extreme was not necessarily what I was looking for either. So I just wanted to combine, how can it be comfortable, like tracksuits, that they can really stretch in it, they can sit, they can just chill, but also be a bit more resistant to their messy behavior or lifestyle. So it took a lot of time to really combine those two, because it's quite difficult to combine different kind of fabrics together. But that's the overall objective of the brand, is to kind of enable kids' creativity, giving them a gear that they're not going to worry about. They're not going to worry that they're going to stain it. And parents, are not going to worry either, because they know they can just wipe them clean. They know that they're comfy, so there's not going to be any fuss for the kids to wear them.
Sure.
They don't have to wash them as often. So it was really kind of thinking about the whole family, not just, it's not just about the style. It's not just about comfort. It's not just about being resistant. It's combining everything. So it's like the perfect kind of outfits for kids. And I don't want to compromise on style either. So that's why all of my clothes, like the prints, they're inspired from art. So I've got street art inspired. I've also got some collaboration with artists. So it's not just, navy, plain, black, plain, or baby kind of simple pattern. There's a thought behind it. So that it's kind of inspiring to wear.
I feel like every aspect of your brand has been so carefully considered, from the quality to the styles to the collaborations that you do, even down to the packaging. And I know that there's a big emphasis there on, being a sustainable brand as much as possible, isn't there?
Yeah, that was initially I really wanted to be all about sustainability. I wanted to use only recycled polyester. So obviously I had to make some compromise, because being so small, to get like recycled polyester, you need to have big volumes. It's very important. I tried. So yeah, sustainability is important, and it was my number one. And then I realized actually it's still there, but my number one is really the practicality now, making life easier for parents and giving the kids something that they can wear over and over every day, not occasionally when it rains or when they do art, but every day. So you buy less, but you use more, it lasts longer. So yes, in a way, then it's sustainable through this, but it's really more, I'm focusing more on practicality, because sadly, sustainability is still not really, I think a lot of people claim that, they want to be sustainable, but when it comes to actually purchasing, spending the money, it's hard to get people to actually invest in something a little bit more expensive, because it's going to last longer for kids, because either they don't really believe it's going to last longer, or they're thinking anyway they're going to grow up and then don't want to think about the second life of like reselling or giving to the siblings. It's a bit too long term for kids clothing. So I moved away from this, and I do the sustainability more for my own kind of integrity and conscience. And I'm not going to lie, I'm still using polyester because I cannot find recycled polyester, but I use it for a purpose of longevity and practicality. And hopefully one day, you know, I'll be able to be fully sustainable. But yeah, I'm being very honest on this. And I know that, you know, initially when I tried to crack this whole like sustainability world, people are quite, you know, intense on this. So if I use some polyester, then I can't be really considered sustainable. So I just do what I think, you know, what I can do. And I feel good about it. It's not something I focused on as much lately. So I kind of had a shift.
I think for anybody who doesn't know the fashion industry, it's not as black and white as it seems. And, you know, it's very easy as a consumer to think that obtaining these recycled fabrics and creating some kind of circular system for materials or clothing is easy, and it's not. It's actually very difficult. It's very difficult even to get factories or manufacturers to take you seriously as a small brand, because they demand such huge quantities. You do end up having to make these kind of compromises. I know that from having worked in the footwear industry, it's not always that simple. But I suppose where this leads me to ask you is, what's your experience then in the fashion industry? Have you worked in fashion before, or is this something new to you that you've kind of almost fallen into?
It's completely new. So I guess that I thought maybe that's my little rebellion is I've never worked in fashion. I've always worked in makeup. So for 14 years, I was working in marketing, and then later on in merchandising, in store design, but always for makeup brands. So for big groups. And so I never worked in fashion, and it's been completely new. So I had to learn everything. And I took some master class to understand how to build a business, to understand, you know, fabrics and all the technicalities, factories, how to approach them. I had to learn how to do tech packs, so tech drawings and things like this, which I loved. So the first part, you know, I left my job. So I was made redundant in July 20, so during COVID. Because my job was moving to Amsterdam, and I didn't want to move to Amsterdam, and I couldn't really with my partner. And so I decided to take the redundancy. And so this as a sign that I get some money. And also it's COVID. I mean, I couldn't really look for a job at that time. It was a bit like weird. So that first year from July to July, it was all about learning how fashion works, and taking one-to-one, online classes. Obviously, I couldn't go face-to-face because of COVID. And then working on so when you said, you know, everything was thought through, is I had time. I really took the time to make sure that I would think about everything. So I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And in a way, I think it was good. And also it kind of delayed me a lot. And a lot of people would say, yeah, just do it. Stop like trying to find, you know, it took me months to find and not find in the end recycled polyester. And I tried and I lost so much to in the end not do it. So many things like this, you know, that I don't know if it's mistakes or wasting time, but it took a lot more time, I guess, if I had worked in fashion industry before, it would have been easier and it would have been faster. But I loved the fact that I was learning something new. I was really tired with makeup. I had no more interest. I feel like I had seen it all, and everything that we had launched 10 years ago. I had to do something new. But the hard bits as well. So apart from the fact that I didn't know anything and I learned everything, this is fairly okay. You learn it. And then what was the hardest part for me was because I used to work for big names and I had suppliers working for me, it was so easy. And I realized now how easy it was because the massive budget I had, and then suppliers just, you know, trying to get the business and doing everything. And then suddenly I was a nobody with no big brands behind me, small budget, small volumes, and suppliers who would think, you know, I'm a client, I'll pay, you know, I'm a customer. They don't care. They don't even want to. They're like, nah, you're too small time for you. So hard to find a factory. And then hard to find, fabrics because, again, you know, small volumes. And then even when I found factory, it's just the difference of relationship, where I felt like sometimes I was working for the factory. Like I would get told off for not doing something right, or I would be given deadlines saying, no, that's the way it is. Take it or leave it. It was really a learning curve for me, and a shift in my way of working. And not that when I was in big companies, I wasn't really like, oh, you do this. I was always respectful, but I knew that I had a bit of the power. So I was negotiating, and I was trying to bring down cost, whenever I could. And now I'm on the other side of well, not on the other side because I'm not a supplier, but I can see. Yeah,
It's a different situation now. You don't have that sort of big brand power behind you.
Yeah, but that's it's great learning. It's great challenges, and I wouldn't have it any different. I think it was. Yeah, I mean, there's few things that went wrong. I wish they didn't go wrong. Fine, but at the end of the day, it's done, and then any kind of mistakes taught me a lot more probably than if it all went smoothly. So
what's something that you did feel has gone really wrong for you?
I think my ambition was not necessarily realistic at the beginning, and having unrealistic objectives, goals, could be very destructive in a way that if you don't achieve them, or if you're far from achieving them, you feel like you're failing, when actually initially this was not right. Like the goal, the objective wasn't right. So my ambition were maybe too big compared to what was realistic, but also not in line with my personal needs for my life, for my personal life.
Interesting.
That was really hard. Like the first 6 months of the launch. So when I was talking about the first year was the easiest, even though I'm telling you like it was hard to find like factories, was the easiest. Because I was, behind my computer at home, and I get rejected from factories, but I'm not too exposed. And then when I started to launch, and I had based my objective on something unrealistic, the reality call was really hard, and it was tough the first 6 months. And then finally, I managed to kind of step back and go back to something much more healthy. But I would say that's my biggest mistake, is to basically have objective based on what I should do, what people tell me, and I don't know, based on ego maybe, but not actually based on what is going to actually work for my objective of spending more time with my son. Because initially when I did this was, I want to have a more flexible life, a more flexible career. I want to be able to do the drop off, the pickup, and be the one who goes when the school calls. I don't want to be the one always late at 6:30 after school when my kid is the last one. That's what happened before. When I had my last job, had a big kind of job on the other side of London. I would commute 2 to 3 hours a day. I would basically rush in the morning, almost throw him at the door of the school, wouldn't talk to any parents. And then I would pick him up in the evening late, running, having to leave at 5-ish from the office, which is not great, being there at 6:30 and then home at 7, 1 hour bed. So it just didn't work anymore. And I decided that I was going to do my own thing, work from home so I can do all of this. But then I had ambitions that was like, it's like a company, you need a team, if you want to achieve this. And then I started to work 24/7. And I was like, no, that wasn't supposed to be that way. Mm-hmm. And it was even worse because I would never stop, because you don't have any difference between work and home, because you work from home and everything reminds you of work, and you would just be on your laptop all the time. Even watching Netflix, I would be on my laptop. Even being with my son after school, I'd be on my phone. So I'd say that's the biggest mistake.
How have you actually managed to combat that? Have you had to put boundaries in place to kind of break up that time between work time and home life, or how have you managed to find a balance, or are you still trying to work through that?
So now I feel like I've gone the opposite. So because I was really like having a burnout, I took the opportunity of summer to have a proper break and to really step back, to not think about it, which I couldn't do before. I couldn't even take one day. Like my partner would tell me, just don't do anything, just this today. you're home. It's not like you have I'm lucky enough that I don't have a boss telling me you need to do this today. I was my own boss. I could say, today I'm not working. I'm going to do something I like. And I couldn't do it because I was too stressed. And I thought, no, I'll do that after I do this, after, and I didn't. But we had proper discussion when it just didn't work. And I took a big break, and I really decided to adopt the what's going to happen, what's worse going to happen, and try to really tell me, okay, what is going to happen if I don't do that today? It's not going to change anything. Yeah, I refocused on my priority. My priority is really my family, my son, my health, my home. We moved last year. Last year was too much. We moved house 3 times in a year. Wow. We had a whole refurbishment. We lived in a building site. I didn't know how to find my stock. Everything was like, it was too much, like launching the brand at the same time, turning 40. Like it was a lot. So I think I just decided to really step back and do much less, and have really lower my ambition and not seeing it as a failure, but seeing it as actually something positive. And I've been so much happier. Because, I'm being much more realistic on what I want to do. And also my priority is not my business right now. My priority is my son, because I don't want to miss those days, those times. He's growing up so fast. And I feel like I have my whole life to, work hard again. I worked hard for 14 years. And now I'm a bit more like, I work less hours a day. When I pick him up, I stop working. And I agree. I mean, I'm aware that not everyone can do this. So I feel like I'm really lucky because I'm not alone. If I was a single mom and I had to, make money every day and, I was stressed. Yeah. So I don't know how it's a hard thing to advise because not everyone can do this, but I still think that forcing yourself to take, it could be an hour, because I couldn't even do 1 hour. I couldn't say, okay, I'm going to do meditation for 1 hour. No, I couldn't do that. So even 1 hour, one day, or take a holiday because you still have maybe, holiday, and force yourself to do something that you like instead of something that you should do could help.
It's interesting you said you just hit 40, and I think one of the things that occurred to me when I hit 40 is just this kind of big moment of reflection where, I don't know, I think when I was younger, 40 felt like an age where I'd have accomplished loads of things. In actual fact, I haven't quite managed a lot of them, but I mean, I'm okay with that. I accept that. But in terms of reflecting on my younger self, I'm curious to ask you as well, actually, like if you could go back in time and spend 24 hours with your younger self, what do you think you might tell her?
When I was younger, I followed a very classic, a bit elitist kind of path, trying to be always the best and then get to the best university. And, when I was maybe between 15 and 17, I wanted to work in architect. I wanted to be an architect. Then also I wanted to go to that school that's like art school where you renovate old things like old furnitures or painting. I was passionate with this, but I kind of followed the path that was a little bit more safer, classical. So I was good in math. So let's continue the math thing. It's safe. Math is good. So let's do math. Let's do marketing. And then I worked in marketing for my whole life. But actually, I've always loved, being creative. And a lot of people say, it's fine, you can be creative, but just find a job that, is safe and pays you money, and then have a hobby that's creative next to it. It's okay. But if I was going back, I think I would have I would have gone to that school, because I can see now, and it's not that I wasted my whole life doing things I didn't like, because I did enjoy the job I was doing until I didn't. It's okay. But I think I'm really made to create and to do things with my hands more than with my head. I mean, still a bit with my head, but more with my hands. Mm-hmm. And that's when I'm the happiest. If I can spend a whole day just doing art, I'll be so happy. It's just stressful because it doesn't bring any money. It doesn't put food on the table, at least right now. But that's my ambition now. I want to focus more on this, but can talk about this after. But I think I would just don't do what's expected and what's safe and what you should do. Just follow a bit more your guts, even though, you're young.
This episode is kindly sponsored by Polite Club, a brand whose mission is to change the attitude towards vulnerability by encouraging more conversation around it in order to increase real human connection. When you can express your feelings constructively, you can work through your fears, open your heart and find your place in the world. The vehicle for these conversations is clothing, or connection clothing as it's become known. Connection is one of my core values, so I'm thrilled to be able to partner with Polite Club so we can join in our collective goal of bringing people together and helping you rebel against staying the same. Sustainable, organic and rebellious, of course, Polite Club also uses 50% of their profits to fund proactive suicide prevention in the form of coaching, support and awareness raising, which enables people to understand their emotions and express how they feel constructively. Become a vulnerable with us. For more info on the brand or to buy online, go to politeclub.co.uk or follow on Instagram at politeclubhq. Now, back to the show. Going back to your brand then, if I may, how do you manage to add the fun when it feels hard?
Yeah, so in the business overall, there are things that I really like to do, I love to do, and things I don't like to do. So when it gets hard, I try to focus on the things that I really like to do. Whether it's doing something funny, like those silly videos that really just kind of make me a bit more, then I keep watching it, looking at it, and I think it's amazing memories we're creating with my son. So I would do this, or I would focus on the creative part for a little bit. So that makes me just a bit more, a bit less stressed. And also, all the pop-ups that I do, that really helps me. So it's a lot of work, but it's something I really like because, again, I worked also in merchandising, so I love to transform a space and give a shopping experience. And
I understand why you're so good at creating these pop-ups, because I can only look at them from afar. I haven't been able to get to London for any of them, but when I watch the videos and the things that you put on social media, I always think I don't know, I'm not surprised because, like I said to you before, I think everything that you do within the brand is so well considered, but having that kind of merchandising background, I can see now why it looks the way it does. It's very, it creates sort of impact.
Yeah, it definitely helps. And it's just such a, when I did my first big pop-up early June and I had this big shop in Old Spitalfield Market, I spent 3 days and it was all DIY and upcycling stuff because, again, small budget. And that was kind of my happiest time, even though I was in the middle of, June was when I was really burning out, but this was an amazing project and it really boosted me. So I thought, okay, I need to focus on doing what I love and still trying to find a way that it also makes money. So I'm still working on that bit because pop-ups, usually when I used to work for all those big brands, pop-up wasn't necessarily a priority because it's a lot of, it's expensive and it doesn't always have the good return on investment. Mm-hmm. But it was different because then comparing to being in a Boots or in a Superdrug or, and having your own pop-up, yes, of course, there's a difference. But me, it's not like I have big retailers. So I thought I need to find a way that I can make it work. I'm not really a teacher and I don't, do like art workshop myself, but I love to give experience to kids and to parents. I love to host. I'm a host. Like Nada, we finally have a place where we can invite people. We invite people all the time. And I love to prepare like a theme for the dinner and then make it, I just like people having a good time at mine. So the pop-up is also something that I just enjoy because seeing all those people come, even, a lot of them buy when they go to pop-up. So in the end, it works well because the conversion is much better than online. Mm-hmm. I would say more than half of the people would leave with something.
Wow.
And it's so it's very rewarding. So the things I don't like to do, like digital, Instagram, unless, I have a good idea and it's fun to make, but I'm not really a digital person. I've never really done that. It's always been very retail, in-store, my focus on my career anyway. So yeah, I do, to bring the fun, I do more of the fun things, and it's finding a way to make it work and to make money from it, rather than the contrary, thinking, okay, what is going to make money? Okay, this, so I'm going to do this. It's
Yeah, I think as a host, as you described yourself as a host, it's amazing if you can actually create that kind of experience, because it opens the product up. It's not just a top or a pair of trousers.
Yeah.
You're actually giving people a whole experience, and I think that's so fundamental to creating a really powerful brand, isn't it?
Yes, that's what I think. I think now, especially having worked in that field, at some point it was all about online, and retail was really dying, and with COVID didn't help, and it's still a bit dying. But now it feels like people are getting a little bit bored of buying online. I mean, it's convenience. You buy things, oh, I need this, I buy it. I think online is lacking a little bit of this, kind of, you don't have any experience. And then going to store, a normal store where you just go and you buy and you leave, again, what's the point? So I think you need to find ways an incentive to get people out, and you need to give them experience now. They're not just gonna just shop. They need something more, and they need some sort of interactive stuff or immersive stuff. They need to be able to feel like it's a treat, and they can Instagram it, or like a bit of a treat. And especially shopping with kids, and that's where I came from initially. Like the idea came from is shopping with kids in bricks and mortars is a pain, because you have to drag them, and they don't want to try it on, and then it's a pain. Shopping for kids online is also a pain, because the sizing is so all over the place. Yeah. It's really hit and miss. So it's finding a way that it's still convenient, but you don't have to choose between going shopping or going to the play date or the soft play. It's how can I bring those two together so everyone can have, it's like a day out or like a few hours out. Everyone has fun, and you do your shopping. The kids are entertained. I can have a glass of prosecco. I can go with my friends and their kids, and we have a good time. So that's what I really like to replicate, like something like
well,
this.
I mean, like now you've said it, now you've told me the kind of things that you enjoy. It seems really logical, because you're doing exactly what you said. You're bringing your brand in line with your personal values. So you're then able to host, you're then able to be with your friends, you're then able to have a drink and feel relaxed, but you're still being creative, you're still being a great parent, you're encouraging all these other sort of creative activities and stuff. It really feels to me like you found a way to unify those things that are important to you.
Yeah, that's and that really makes me happy. It's not always easy, because you need to find spaces, and I don't have the budget to spend a lot of money on pop-ups in terms of even the rental. I've tried a lot of different things to see what works, what doesn't work, or what I like to do and what I don't like to do in terms of pop-ups as well. So, when I do markets, for instance, I've done a lot of markets, like every weekend for between November and December, just the Christmas market. I like it to meet the people and talk, because when you're next to me, I can sell my products, no problem, because I show it and they see the quality, and it's so easy. Online, I'm like, I don't know, I don't find a way to sell online. But so I kind of like it, but not as much as having my own shop, being able to dress it all and give a proper experience. And I hadn't done, until November, I hadn't done yet markets. So I tried it. But it's hard to convey my personality and the brand DNA with one table. I try to get the kids, I try to have like a back wall so they can do graffiti, but it's not always possible. So what works better for me is really being in a whole space, but then that's not always easy in terms of budget, because you need money to dress up, time to dress it up, and sometimes you have to pay for the space. So that's where I'm saying I haven't yet balanced out, what I like to do, and I think is good for the brands, with the money part and how profitable it is. Mm-hmm. So it's still a learning curve on this.
Yeah, but it seems to me like, you are treating it all very much as a learning curve. Even the part where you're testing the markets, you've already decided it's not really the thing that works best for you. And I think that whole
being available to just test things and adjust and test again and see if there's something better that works for you is so important to, your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, it is. And I do want to, follow my guts a little bit. And I believe that giving those sort of experiences, even if it might not be profitable now, it's like I'm making customers, not for life, but there is a long term. I believe that someone who bought an outfit from Vandal Kids at an event will remember and will maybe buy again when I have a collection, or someone who bought online, it was just another product that they bought. So I'm hoping, then creating this relationship, they've met me, they had this nice time. I'm following up with the newsletter and I'm telling them, okay, next time we'll do this, they might be more likely to be receptive. So it's a bit of a longer term investment, while it's something that I enjoy doing. And I believe that if I do the things I enjoy more, I'm going to be more creative, and it's like a virtuous circle, and it's gonna pay off.
Yeah, just kind of latching on to what you said about being more creative then. What advice do you think you would give to someone who wants to add more creativity to their life, or even just help their children express themselves more creatively?
I mean, the first thing is, I think there's no secret, is it needs a bit of time. You can't just be creative on the go quickly like this. It's something you need to nurture and allocate time to it. So it is sometimes a bit scary. And that's, the issue that happened to me when I had my burnout, is I didn't allow any downtime to be creative. And then you have this block, and it's a vicious circle. Mm-hmm. So it's really the stepping back and getting out of, especially if you work from home, it's really hard. Mm. There's not that many things that will stimulate you, that your house. So forcing yourself to go out, and it could be go to a museum and go see this exhibition or whatever, but it doesn't have to be this. It's just go out, walk on the street, go in a nice funky street. So for me, I get most of my inspiration from the streets. So the architecture, the street art, the people, the way they wear it, what they're wearing, that's where I get the most inspiration. And it doesn't cost anything. So just go out, walk, look around, but with no agenda. Like, no, okay, I'm going out because I need inspiration. I need to look at it. If you force it, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, it's basically time, because it might be that you need a few times of doing it until at some point you do it with no agenda. But it's hard at the beginning. You kind of have an agenda, because you're like, okay, in my to-do list, I need to be creative. Don't put that. It's not something in a to-do list that you have to do, that you should do. So I would say this. And then for kids, and also for adults, the other thing is, think like a kid sometimes as well. That could help so much, being creative, because for me, kids are the most creative people. And when you grow up, you tend to be less and less creative, because you're being told, oh man, you can't do this, that's not possible, or but this costs money, or this. There's a lot of buts and no and impossible that goes into your mind. And then when you become an adult, you're less creative than when you're a kid. We're all born creative. I mean, that I believe we're all born creative. I don't know. We learn to not be creative maybe, and be more pragmatic, practical, realistic. So it's thinking like a kid, like sometimes like, okay, what would my son do? It might be silly and it doesn't matter. And there's no right or wrong when you want to be creative. If you want to do like a bit of brainstorming, the key, whenever I used to do brainstorming, at work, the key was, there is no bad idea. There is no, we can't do it. You take everything you take, you write it down, and you don't judge it, because something that might be impossible, if you still consider it, you might bounce back on it and then get to somewhere that it's actually, it is possible. So yeah, just think like a kid, and don't have any constraints. And then for kids, the main thing I would say is this whole positive kind of affirmation, or positive kind of tell them that they're creative, even if you don't know if they are, tell them they're creative, whatever they do. Because there's so many beliefs in as a kid that you carry out as adults. And it's things that we were told. Words are so important. So if they do something that, you as an adult, you're like, what is it? Try always to find a way to tell them it's so creative. Even they don't have to do art, because there's a lot of misconception around, I can't do art, I can't draw, I can't paint, so I'm not creative. No, art is just one part of creativity, but you can be creative. There's creative thinking. You can be, into math and think creatively to solve math problems or life problems. So it doesn't have, I don't really draw. I'm not a good drawer. I'll find another way to express my creativity through using objects and putting them together. So it doesn't have to be, and even this you don't have to do. You don't have to have this kind of creativity. But if they don't draw, if they don't do art, they can still be creative. Even they do homework and they find a way to solve. You're like, that was really creative of you to think that way. Be very specific on, when you did this, and that was a really good idea to do this, and it's very creative. And then they think they're creative, and then if they think they're creative, they're going to believe it. And then
100%. I read something recently which said exactly what you've just said, and I've started implementing it myself with my two children. So when they come to bring me a picture to show me, instead of just saying, "Oh, that looks nice," or I like the way you've done that, I now make a point of picking out something and reminding them, "Oh, I like the way you did the shoes there. That was so creative." Or, just exactly what you said, constantly reaffirming this idea that they're being creative. And I think it's really important what you just said as well. It's not just about the things that would spring to mind automatically, like drawing or painting or art per se. It's also in the way they solve problems as well. Exactly. I 100% agree. So important. I haven't asked you yet actually about what some of the highlights in your life so far might be. I don't know whether that's with your brand, in your career, as a parent.
I'm always the one who, when someone asks me, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite song? I can never answer. I just I really go blank. And I think I just don't have a favorite movie or song. So yeah, my biggest highlights, I could be very cliche and I say, having my son, because it is. It was hard at the beginning, but now it's just it makes me so, so happy. So I think, just moving in our new home, making it, we refurbished everything. It's, we made it so that it's us, and it feels like it's our happily ever after home. So feeling settled with my little family, that's, over the last few months has been the highlight. I think has been the happiest moment of my life, the last few months. Yeah.
Lovely. You come across as somebody who is quite confident in what they're doing and where they want to be going. So I don't know if you've ever suffered with low confidence or self-doubt, but I haven't spoken to many people that haven't. So do you feel like you have? And if you have, how have you managed to put that self-saboteur back in its box?
I've had low confidence my whole life. Really low self-esteem, low confidence. Even when my career was doing well and I was hired for big jobs, there was always a voice. Yeah, but I got this job, but it was easy. It wasn't really that challenging, and they really needed someone. And they were, I always find a way to just diminish something that I do. I have my brand, but come on, I'm lucky. It's not like I'm struggling, a single mom. I always find a way to feel like a bit of a fraud. So that's been constant. Less now, because what helped me is really just to really look at what I've done more than what I haven't done. Mm-hmm. And I would beat myself up more before for things that I didn't do or didn't do enough. And now I'm trying to really focus, because I've always had issues with people bragging. That's my little flaw. And it's clearly, I think, coming from on insecurity. People who overconfident and bragging, I feel uncomfortable. But I've always been raised like this. So I'm French, first of all. French people, there's a way that you've been raised in France, like at school, where it's really, no, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. It's very they don't really focus on confidence in the French system. Whereas I feel like in England it's very encouraging. Even if you didn't do it right, teacher would be like, yeah, it's good, very encouraging. Completely opposite systems like of education. I don't know how it is in Italy. I thought it might be more like in France, but I don't know.
More like France, yeah.
Yeah. So it's very like, no, it's wrong. And also at home, I've always been told to not overdo it. To not brag. Like my dad was really anti this. So I never, there must be another word than brag because it sounds very negative, but like,
I suppose it's like you said, it's that sense of overconfidence, isn't it? I always used to say one of the things I can't stand in people is arrogance.
Yeah.
And when I learned a bit more about, how we are as people and what we believe and how we think about ourselves, just as you said, I realised that a lot of that was down to my own insecurity. That person with their super confidence makes me feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But that says more about me than it actually does about them.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I mean, so that's definitely my own issue, but I've suffered with this a lot, whether it's at work and someone is louder, because I've never been that loud one and I'm more the stinker. And then in a meeting, I wouldn't open my mouth unless I know I'm going to say is right for sure. And it's super relevant and everyone's going to be like, yeah, but if it's not at that level, I don't speak. And then other people would say things I wanted to say and I didn't say it and I would be angry at them. But actually, I'm angry at myself because I didn't just speak up. So, but yes, I was raised in, you need to be modest. You have to be modest. And also you don't give compliments, like it's not something, French people don't really give compliments. You don't have like your friends saying, oh my God, you look amazing today. In England, it's much more like you would tell people that they look great. In France, you don't say this, but you would say if something doesn't look good though, you're like, don't really like this. So it's a completely different, and I think this history hasn't helped with my confidence for sure. But I'm not going to blame it all on this. It's just as well myself. But you know what? I've been beating myself up for years, and I've been really depressed because I didn't feel confident, and I kept thinking, I want to be confident. I want to be confident. Why can't I be like her? And you know what? I reached a point where I'm like, I don't care. It's okay if I'm not confident. Who said that I have to be confident to be happy? Like, I need to just accept, I don't have to be extrovert. I don't have to be the one speaking up. I don't have to. Everyone is different. And I could be happy by, if I'm happy by doing my art in my own little corner. But I'm still very sociable, if I go out, I love to go out. I go out a lot. But I just stopped beating myself up for not being more like this or more like that. And actually, this plus also be like, you know what, just look at what you've done. And then people around me has been helping, saying, but you realize you've done this, you've done that, and this. And then I listen more to this voice without forcing it, without beating myself up on, okay, I need to be confident. I'm going to read books. I used to read books on how to be more assertive. Stop the pressure. Yeah, you did as well.
Absolutely. Yeah,
did that help?
Listening to you, I could be having a conversation with myself. It's the same.
So do you think that those books helped, or did it actually add more pressure and more stress?
I think it's nice to take away some, maybe one or 2 points. But what I found was I was trying to memorize a lot of the techniques, and it was just like, it was just adding more pressure. And then I wasn't being very natural. I was trying to force myself into speaking in a way that I might not normally speak. I mean, It's a fine line, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, you're portraying an identity, and you want that identity to be the one that makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to be yourself in the way that you want other people to see you and the way that makes you feel most comfortable. And sometimes you're going to need a few of those techniques to kind of just give you that little push, but not to the point where you feel like you can't open your mouth because you'll say it wrong, or you can't act a certain way because it'll be read differently. So I think it's, with any of those kind of books, you kind of got to take it in, filter it to maybe 1 or 2 key points that you think, I could probably implement those,
just leave the rest, because otherwise you're just going to be there going, oh, but what did that chapter say about, oh, I've just done that thing that I wasn't supposed to do. Oh, next time I won't bother opening my mouth. So yeah, definitely.
It's funny. So I read, I can't remember the name of that book. There was a book, and it was about how to be successful, like success or something. And there were really good points, but also a lot of it was, okay, but you need to be very clear about your goals, and you need to set up. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you, what's your priority in life? And all those questions. So saying, if you don't have those questions answered, you can't really go anywhere. And that stressed me out because I couldn't really answer those questions, or at least in the way that was going in the direction of that book about, for instance, my business. It felt like, if my business is not my number one priority, if selling kids' clothes is not my ultimate passion, my number one, then I should not do it. But I don't think it's fair, because no, my priority is definitely my family and my health. And then that comes actually third then. But that made me feel, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Then maybe it's not what I should do. But I don't know. It didn't necessarily make me feel good. But one thing that made me feel good, a bit better, is so the positive affirmation, to an extent. Positive affirmation or positive, I really believe in positive, so wording and positive
Body language.
Yes, language. So I've practiced this a lot, like being smiling, waking up, being, yeah, it's going to be a great day. I think it really acts on the brain. Oh, you're amazing. You've done this, repeating. Yeah, so that's something that I read this other book, which is called Manifest by Roxy Nafouzi. And it's a book about manifesting, but in a very, very simplified way. So some of those books, sometimes they're too far into, oh, you need to be ambitious, you need to be this, this one is more about, it's more about everyday life, and it feels more accessible. I recommend it. And
now that's good. I was going to ask you actually if there was any sort of books or blogs or podcasts that you find yourself recommending. So,
and I think the second one is coming out, which is like dive deeper. So the first one is not shallow, but it's more like, it feels that it's things that are doable. It's very easy to understand. She doesn't try to make it too elitist. It's really simple. I haven't read the second one. I think it's just been out now. Then I don't really listen to podcasts. I forced myself to listen to podcasts last year because I thought that's the right thing to do, and everyone does it, and I should do it. So I should, basically, I felt like I had to exploit every minute I had. So on the way back from school, I walked 20 minutes. Okay, I should listen to a podcast. And in the end, it didn't really make me, I don't know, I didn't love it as much as listening to upbeat music or just quiet.
It's because you didn't have the Mischief Movement podcast in your life back then.
Yes. Now I'm going to have to listen to it. But no, I honestly, I like to watch as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see images. I like a book. So, I never have audiobooks. I can't focus so much. But as soon as I see the people, seeing expression, seeing people, laugh or talk about things, it's, for me, it helps. So yeah, it's a little note. Maybe one day you do it with the video, but
one day when I'm a bit braver, maybe.
Yeah. But I guess if I was going to listen to podcasts, yeah, it needs to be maybe because I probably didn't listen to the right podcast, because there were podcasts again about self-development, about how to be better, and that brought more anxiety to me than just having a peaceful walk, or music that's make me, happy.
Yep, I understand that completely. I've been there myself.
Yeah,
definitely. You touched earlier on about this kind of sense of needing to have, like a 5-year goal or some kind of big business plan. But have you got some sort of vision for your future? Yeah,
so that's where I used to have an answer when I was in my very linear career. Well, so in 5 years, I'd like to be the director of this and that and this. But now I just because I'm still in the middle of exploring what I want to do and how much time I allocate to Vandal Kids compared to how much time I allocate to my arts, because I really want to focus as well on the arts, and how much time on my family. I'm still yet to figure out. So when I figure this out, then I can say, okay, you know what, in 5 years, I want to be not famous, but recognized artist, you know, and live from this and sell my art. Or I want Vandal Kids to be, you know, in that space. But right now I'm still working on the business model of Vandal Kids. So it's a bit hard to say. But the one thing I'm sure is I want my family to be happy, and, you know, whatever we do, you know, because I might change my mind in 3 years. I might just do something completely different. So I don't really believe so much in having those plans. That's why I've been struggling with those books, and I want to go a bit with the flow and see where it goes. And you know, my partner might change, and I might be the one who has to, you know, maybe go back to a more classical job. But then, you know, it would happen for a reason, and so many things can happen.
That's true. Yeah. What I'd really like to know, because I'm curious, is what projects are you currently working on? If there's anything like under wraps, anything secret that you can give us a little sneak peek on?
Yes. This year I really wanted to focus more on collaborations in general, because I feel like compared to spending big monies on advertising to gain visibility, I'd rather gain the visibility through relevant other people who have their own platform and who really we get on well, and from a creative point of view, or even more, adding also credibility than just visibility on being on a Facebook ads. So collaboration would be a big part of this year's strategy. And I have already 2 that I've agreed to, that we agreed. So one would be, we're going to start talking about it in a few days, and then it would be accompanied by a pop-up in March. And it's a collab with, actually, she's also a friend of mine, and she's a designer, performer. She's very creative. She's called Claire Elliott, and she's designed 1,111 NFTs, and they're emojis. They're emojis that are much more, you know, current and modern, and there's much more, obviously, 1,111, a lot of variety of expressions, because she was feeling that the emojis that are currently existing, they're a bit reductive on the emotions. So we're doing this collab where we're going to have, obviously, then I'm going to use her design on the clothes, but also together we're going to do an amazing, I'm very excited about this, like a pop-up, which is going to be all about immersive. It's going to be an immersive experience. There's lots of interactive things to do. A sort of small museum around emotions. So we'll have like different pods for kids to kind of have different feelings and express themselves. And then they can also do their own emojis. So it's a full like 360 kind of workshop, but also kind of museum thing that we want to do. So I'm super excited about that. And then it feels so good as well to work with someone, and work with someone who's not only a friend, but also someone who really cares about the brand. Because I did like a collab last year where actually it ended up being more of a commission, and that person didn't really want to be involved, and she just basically wanted to be paid for the design and gone. And that was a big learning from last year, thinking, okay, if I do collabs, I need to really make sure that the person cares about the brand. And there's no monetary. I'm not paying for design, because at the end of the day, I can design stuff myself. It's not about this. It's more about a very relevant connection with someone who would make sense to the customer, and we can bring something. We can combine our skills and our passion, and then bring something to the world.
It sounds really exciting. And I think, you know, if you are going to collaborate with somebody on anything, you know, it's more important the alignment of your values, and, you know, are you on the same page?
Totally. And the same values as well. Because again, like having done a collab before, realizing that then the same person did a collab with very fast fashion brands. It's just, so you need to kind of know that these sort of things wouldn't happen, and that we have the same values around fashion, as well as then we can have different, we don't have to be the same in terms of creativity and art, but at least some values are
Well,
similar.
in that case, let me put you on the spot. What are your values?
I think values is, for me, it's do everything with integrity, right? So it might not be perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's just as long as you do things with integrity, and you can look at yourself in the mirror and feel like, you know what, I haven't saved people dying today. I haven't, but I've I've made someone happy, or I've been, and right now it's mainly like my son or my partner, or integrity. And even with the business, when I had to compromise and I felt really bad not using recycled polyester, but then I thought, no, actually I tried, I couldn't, and I could have chosen some recycled polyester that were really bad quality, but then it jeopardized the resistance or the waterproofing. So I still did it with integrity when my main objective was to last longer and to be more practical, and I'm being transparent with it. So it's okay. So I would say integrity is one of the biggest values with everything that you do.
Yeah. It feels like you've always had a little bit of a rebellious streak in you. You talked about maybe you didn't have as much self-esteem as you wanted to, or maybe you didn't have any confidence, but it doesn't feel like you're afraid to do things a bit differently. Would you say that's true?
Yes. So I think you're right on that, because I've always been a bit, introvert and lack of confidence. So it's hard to be rebellious when you're like this, because you're just a bit scared and what are people going to think? So in that sense, I haven't really acted in very dramatic, rebellious way. Or I can't really tell you any juicy story of me. I don't know, things that I've done that are really crazy. Then it's more little things every day, and it doesn't sound super exciting, but I'm not afraid to change things. So at work, every job I had, so I changed job a few times, and every time I started a new job, I would change the way things are working, and I would try and improve instantly, just looking at, okay, this doesn't work, we're going to make it more efficient, and changing brand identity, changing the way we look in store, revolutionize. I like to revolutionize things in a way. So same with the Vandal kids, doing things a bit differently than other brands. So I would say that's the way I think I'm a bit rebellious.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And as you said, it is harder when you're introvert, because people have this idea that a rebel is like some kind of anarchist, and I don't think that's really true. I think you can rebel in much smaller ways, and I really like the word revolutionize as well, because it just implies that you're unafraid to make those changes. And I think somehow that's actually more important and more impactful than being an anarchist and going in there and just causing chaos.
Yeah.
It's actually like considered change.
Yeah. And I think it's also trying not to conform necessarily to what's expected, as a mom. I think there's a lot of things I went against the traditional, well, at least what maybe in England a lot of people think a mom should do. A mom should be, once you become a mom, you breastfeed for like a year, you stop, you don't go out anymore, you put, you forget about yourself. And I've always kind of made sure that I still was having my social life. So I would, still go out partying. I'm a bit of a party animal. I've always loved partying. So I go out, I go clubbing, even a few weeks after I gave birth, and there could have been judgments, but I was like, I'm just going to do it my way. And, it doesn't mean, I love my son. There's a lot of judgment around that. So I think in a way I've been a bit of a rebel on this.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think it's very true. Here, I find that a lot of the people my age are like, oh, we don't go out anymore. And I hate that, because
I think just because I'm in my 40s doesn't mean I automatically stop wanting to go out and dance. I'm not even bothered about the drinking, to be honest. I just really like to go out and dance every now and again.
I mean, and when we look at our parents when they were 40, I guess they were like much older than us. But I refuse to. It's not like I'm refused to age, but inside, if I still wanna wear, I dress like a teenager. I dress like a 20 something at 40, and before I thought, until when am I going to be able to do this? But based on what? But based on what people think. So now I don't really care anymore. If I want to dress like a 20 something or a teenager until I'm forever, I will. If I want to go clubbing when I'm older, I will. I think just having fun and being happy is great for everyone. It's actually great for your kids rather than being miserable, forcing, yourself to be someone that's expected to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Where's your favorite place to hang out on social media, and how can people find out more about you?
I'm mostly on Instagram. Not that it's my favorite place, to be honest, because I find sometimes that it's a hard place to be, but that's where I am the most active. So it's Vandal Kids _London. Mm-hmm. I'm trying TikTok a bit, so it's still very new. And I've actually rekindled with Facebook recently. Not that I update anything. I don't really do it like for the business, but I'm actually spending a lot of time on Facebook just for the videos.
And do you have a website that people can find you on?
Yes, it's vandalkidswear.com. And I've actually recently updated my website so that anyone can pay in their own currency as well, and which includes the tax or whatever, like I'm paying towards this as well. So now hopefully it should be easier for people outside of the UK.
Hooray!
Yes. And then also I do have a bit of stock in France. So anyone ordering from Europe, there is not a big delivery cost, or there shouldn't be any tax. Perfect. There are things out of stock, but I still have some stock on certain things in France.
And before we go, I just want everybody to know, because you haven't mentioned it, but you did win a design award for your product, didn't you?
Yeah, that was a good highlight, actually. I just always forget when I'm on the spot, but yes, Junior Design Awards, Best Newcomer, silver, so second place. No, I was really happy, really happy with this for the first collection, first year. It was nice. So I think that helps a lot as well with giving some credibility, whether it's with retailer or with customer or with journalist. So hopefully this is helping.
It's been amazing talking to you today. Thank you so much, Kat. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye. Take care.
I hope you loved today's episode and it made you think differently, or perhaps nudged you into changing something in your life that's not working for you. I'd love to give you a shout out right here on the podcast too. So let me know what you think, what you'd like to hear more of, or how you've been inspired by what you've heard. Let's keep in touch over on Instagram at Mischief and Hide, or sign up to my newsletter at zoegreenhalf.com. If you're enjoying being part of the Mischief movement, please consider telling a friend or leaving me a review wherever you download your episodes, which will seriously help my mission to inspire and empower more people like us to choose mischief over mediocre. Ciao!